All right, traders, we need to do a very important update. The CPI data was released today, and the bears stepped in and they took control. They cracked that key level on SPY that we discussed yesterday, which was at 379.50 to low 380s. And we are now in a new zone. So we're going to be discussing the new trading opportunities into this zone and what you need to be aware of into heading into the rest of this week to trade the best setups at the best prices. I'm going to be breaking it down for you. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into it. So first things first, we're going to be going over the SPY. Like we discussed in yesterday's video, if this support level at $380.54, also $379.50, if this support level right here, this red line, were to crack and react as a resistance level, SPY would see a big sell-off to the low end of the next side of the channel, which as you can see right here, if you're looking at the 10-day chart, if it were to crack this red line, the next main overall support level is going to be right here in the 374 range, right around 374 to 373. And if you watched my video yesterday, I said there was a key message that I said in that video. There's been a pattern with SPY. When it has been gapping down lately, it does like to explode back up to fill the gap. What is it that I'm talking about? You can see right here, it gaps down towards the 380s, just like it did today, hits the low 370s, the low 373, 374 range, explodes up to fill the gap, then it has a gap close reversal and sells back off. Here's another example. Same thing that occurred today. It gaps down, hits the low end of the channel, explodes up to fill the gap, except this time it didn't have that gap close reversal like it did right here. But you can just study this pattern is consistently happening over and over again, even into last week, where we had a gap down here and it exploded up to fill the gap. Once it fills the gap, had a reversal, had a gap down right here. It didn't fill the gap, but it started to explode up to try to fill the gap. So if you study that pattern, what has been happening, like I stated in yesterday's video, when SPY gaps down as of lately, it has a morning panic up until about 9:50 to 10 a.m., has a nice little sell-off continuation of that downtrend with the gap down. Then it starts to explode up to fill the gap. So this morning, I did end up playing put options as soon as the market opened for a 20% return in about 2 minutes. Then I switched to calls, ended up making like a 25% return. Then I played puts again, small loss, and then I played calls again. Unfortunately, I did not hold my calls. My target was 379 on my calls. I ended up re-entering my calls right here towards 377. Got stopped out on this pullback. Unfortunately, my max pain, my max stop loss hit, and then it exploded up to fill the gap. But in terms of the strategy and in terms of the overall thesis, this was a great trading day, and SPY had many gap close reversal opportunities. When it filled this gap right here, what do I tell you guys? Look for the wick. You see the wicks at the gap fill, play puts, scalp puts right here for the gap close reversal. Scalp puts right here when it's forming lower highs, breaking down, turning into resistance. Top wicks again, scalp puts. So in terms of the opportunities today, there was a very, very quick opportunity. If you were to, this is literally, it's crazy. I made a 20% return on this in 2 minutes. I bought a put right here on this spike up, on this candlestick right here. Next minute, it dropped almost basically $1, made 20% within that minute on same day expirations. Then I ended up playing puts again, stopped out. Then I switched to calls, made a 25%. Then I played calls again and took a small loss. And then I just sat on the sidelines from there, didn't do anything. But in terms of trading opportunities, there was a lot of trading opportunities where that history repeats itself. If SPY is going to gap down and break down out of this channel, it's not just going to instantly crack this 370s. I discussed this in yesterday's video. If we get that gap down and it's, sitting towards this low 370s like it did here, it's going to explode up to fill the gap, We call that the gap fill strategy, where SPY is sitting at a key make it or break it level of the channel. It gaps down, has the morning panic, explodes up to fill the gap, Once the gap builds, if you see resistance form, scalp puts with same day expirations. These are all quick 20 to 50% returns. In terms of the calls, you could have made over 100% return with calls today. But in terms of the portfolio is doing very, very well into the week. In terms of just today alone, I was up 6% at the peak. But then I had that loss on calls. Unfortunately, I didn't hold longer, but I did end up making a 2.62% return on the portfolio today. So it was a pretty good day scalping and trading options. Big shout out to AZ, $300 profit trading SPX. You guys are absolutely killing it. Big shout out to Johnny, a 19.64% return on his portfolio. Wow, you guys hear that outside? It's raining pretty bad. But yeah, that's kind of the analysis on SPY. And what you need to understand heading into the rest of this week is we are in a new channel, and this is very, very bearish. The reason why SPY is so bearish right now is because it rejected the previous closing price. So this is what's going to happen. It's either going to break out and turn this red line into support and then explode up to fill this gap, or it's going to break down. See how it fills the gap right here like it did today, and then it starts breaking down, and then it sells back off to 373, right? And as of now, it is reacting overall bearish. We are seeing an overall bearish reaction on the SPY because it filled the gap, and ever since it filled the gap, it has been selling off. It has been acting as the highs of days. It has been reacting as strong resistance. So this means the bears are currently in control of the micro channel. We are also moving down at 377.10. So the current best price for SPY puts is going to be the previous closing price. We're going to see how this reacts tomorrow at 378.83. If this gap's down, there's going to be a gap to fill above at 378.83. If SPY forms resistance at 378.83, that's going to be more continuation, more further crash to right here, the 373s, 373 range. And keep in mind, for dip buying, for call opportunities, pay attention to that pattern. If SPY gaps down, look for call opportunities at around 9:50 to 10 a.m. to explode back up to fill the gap. We have a very strong support channel at 372 to 373 with nice upside. And if SPY is going to keep gapping down, there's going to be a gap to fill above. And if it hits that key support, we are likely going to explode back up for a scalping opportunity to fill the gaps. Then you play the puts when the gap fills. You don't want to play puts before. If I'm playing puts before the gap fills, it's a super quick scalp. Not the best setup, not the best price, just very in, very out. So that's what I wanted to bring awareness to. This 372, this 372 zone, right? So right now it's at 377. If the SPY gaps down, which it currently is attempting to do, then 373 is going to be the buying zone to ride it back up to fill the gap that's waiting to fill above. There's going to be a gap to fill above at 378.33 if we do open up lower than this previous closing price, which we are on track to do. Best current price for put options is going to be 378.83, guys. So just know the bears are currently in control of the channel. We cracked this support in the pre-market, had the big sell-off, and then it explodes back up. This happens all the time. When the CPI data comes out, SPY sells off in the pre-market at around like 8:30 typically, and then it just explodes back up to fill the gap. I had a $379 price target on the SPY towards market open. So that was overall good setup for calls and for puts today. Scalping both ways, you could have absolutely crushed it. So the portfolio is up 2.62% on the day. Big shout out to members within Trader Society killing it as well. And like I said, just understand we're in a new channel, and the bears are showing signs of strength. They're showing signs of control, but the bulls are showing up at 373 if the SPY gaps down. So if SPY gaps down, 373 is going to be the call zone. And the put zone is going to be 378.83. Those are the two best levels. Puts 378.83, calls 373, right? And for those of you who are super bearish and really just kind of holding out puts, if that's what you're doing, you need to crack this 373. That's what you need to do. You seriously need to crack this 373. Otherwise, within time, it bombs at 373, then it explodes back up to 380s. And if it breaks above 380s and that turns into support like it did right here, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be no surprise. It's going to shoot back up to fill this gap, right? So your make it or break it level, if you are holding puts, would be that 380.50. 381, right around there. You do not want to go above that. If you go above that, SPY gets really bullish, and it really starts to fill this gap. As long as we stay under 381, super bearish. Right now, it's super bearish because it's turning that previous support into a resistance level, and it's showing very bearish signs because it had the massive sell-off. It hit that low end of the channel, and it's very normal for SPY to bounce when it breaks down out of this 380 channel, has a big sell-off to low 370s. Very normal for it to bounce because this is an overreaction. this is an overreaction where it sells off hard. So if you have puts into this and you're not like swinging, you're just trying to take your profits, you take profits and then you rebuy puts at the previous closing price at that previous support level, which is now reacting as a resistance level, which confirms that the bears are currently in control of the channel because we had a big sell off. That doesn't confirm that the bears are in control. That just means we're selling off. When it bounces back up and turns that previous support, that previous closing price to a resistance level, that confirms that the bears are in control right now. So if they can continue to stay under 380, stay under this 378.83, lower highs the better, we will be on track within time, not right away, but within time into next week to crack 373. If this stays under 380s, it goes under. So basically, this is what you need to understand as well. If we crack 373, we will be on track to fill the gap. There's going to be a gap to fill below at 365.86. That's the best price for calls if we crack 373. If 373 continues to hold, we continue to push to 380s. If 380s breaks out and turns into support like it did right here, we explode up to fill the gap at 388.67. So what do you know? You know the best prices for puts right now are at 378.83, the previous closing price, because it is currently bearish. You also know if it breaks above 380s, the new best price for puts is 388.67. You also know if it gaps down, which it currently is on track to do, the best price to scalp some calls if it gaps down is going to be the low 370s, 372, 373. And you also know if 373 cracks, which it will do if 380s to 378 maintains resistance into next week, it will be on track to crack. And when it cracks, you know the best price to buy calls will be at 365.86. Those are the best levels. That's how you trade the best setups at the best prices. These are very quick in and out scalping opportunities where you can make very nice lucrative trading returns with same day expirations. So that's the analysis on SPY. In terms of stocks at the very moment, not too interested in stocks at the very moment, mainly just focused on SPY because it's at such great levels to be trading and focusing on. And I'm finding SPY very a lot easier and a lot simpler to be trading as of lately. Some of you guys have been asking about Tesla. For Tesla to go super bearish, it needs to crack 700. If Tesla cracks 700, it goes super bearish, super bearish. If we go under 700, we rug pull to 670s, super bearish. So pay attention to that. If it cracks 700, that's the make it or break it level on Tesla is $700. Those are the main plays. Those are the main stocks that I'm going to be watching into this week. If you do want to be a part of Trader Society, that's going to be the first link down below in the description. Click that first link. Once you sign up, you get instant lifetime access to everything included on the landing page within Trader Society. It's all within that first link if you want to join us and trade live with us every single day at market open. I will see you guys within the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in.